Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Tri-Valley San Joaquin Valley Regional Rail Authority Board meeting. It is approximately 2:02. Councilmember McCarthy, you want to lead us in the pledge?
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director. Today we have the oath of office. We're going to welcome some new folks here. We have Manteca Councilmember Regina Lakey. We have Mayor Mark Armstrong to my right over here. Mayor Christine Fugazi from Stockton, who's joining us via Zoom, and Councilmember Dottie Nygaard via Zoom. So before you guys can start here, we got to do our oath of office. You all ready? Let's do it. I know, unfortunately, I have to sit here because of the mic, but for those of you on Zoom, and Mayor Armstrong, if you could stand and raise your right hand for me. Buddy up here. Yeah. I state your name.
I, Mark Armstrong.
Regina Lackey.
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
Do solemnly swear.
Or affirm.
That I will support and defend.
That I will support and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies.
Against all enemies.
Foreign and domestic.
Foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
To the Constitution of the United States.
To the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Purpose of evasion.
Purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
And that I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties.
Discharge the duties.
Upon which I'm about to enter.
Upon which I'm about to enter.
Well, congratulations all and welcome. Mr. Sheridan, I'm going to turn this over to you to recognize our outgoing board members.
Thank you, Chair. And I believe we have a plaque and award from Mr. Director Bedoya, who I don't believe is on the Zoom call and not in person. So we'd just like to acknowledge Councilmember Bedoya for his time on the ValleyLink board, where he was very helpful.
There he is.
Oh, there he is. So we'll be delivering his plaque to him and appreciate the time that he spent on ValleyLink.
Sheridan. All right, move on to item number 2, roll call. Can we get a roll call, please?
Here, man.
Armstrong,
Here.
Fugazi,
Present.
Pollard,
Present.
King Tingle. Here. Hernandez, absent. Lackey,
Present.
McCarson,
Present.
Nygaard,
Here.
Nygaard, absent. Stepper,
Here.
Testa,
Here.
Duba,
Here.
Rickman.
Here.
Marchand. Okay, you have a quorum.
Hey, thank you.
Mr. Chair, the Secretary, will you please make the announcement regarding the participation of Director Lackey remotely under AB 2449?
Is there something that you need me to say for 2449?
Yes,
Yes.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
So there's a few legal requirements to participate remotely for just cause. And there's 3 questions I need to ask you. Please state generally the circumstances relating to need to participate remotely. I think you have evidenced that to us due to an illness. Please confirm that you have audio and visual throughout the meeting.
Yes, I do.
And lastly, please disclose if there are any individuals over the age of 18 present in the room, and if so, the general nature of their relationship with you.
There is no one currently here.
Thank you. And that's, of course, required by the statute. Okay, we can now move and you're authorized to participate remotely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Move on to item number 3, public comments. Members of the public may address the board on any issues not listed on the agenda that are within the purview of the authority, and it will be limited to 3 minutes. Any members of the public wishing to address this board?
I do not have anyone wishing to address the board on this item.
So do you have something? Okay. All right. Seeing no public comments, we'll close public comments. We'll come back to item number 4, which is the consent agenda. Anybody from the board wishing to pull anything from consent?
Move consent.
Chair, I'd like to pull for clarification for C and for D. Just for clarification. I don't know if we need to roll anything forward.
Anybody else?
Yes, I'd like to pull item 4F just for a punctuation change.
So we'll go ahead and, I don't see anybody else. So we'll go ahead and pull item C. Turn it over to you. What do you need?
Very quickly, on 4C, phase 1 work, we're bumping up phase 1 work for just clarification to $900,000 for budget, basically. There was an inference or mention of phase 2 work because I'm just getting my fingers still in here. I'd like to maybe you can give me a brief help on understanding what that cost and what's expected in that phase 2.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me now? Great.
Okay.
So the phase 1 work, as has been articulated previously, is focused on supporting the authority's decisions on what form of procurement that we would be looking to employ for the construction activities on the project. Phase 2 is actually facilitating the development of those procurements, including the actual documents and supporting the authority through the procurement process.
Okay, so that 900,000, is that for just phase 1?
That is correct.
Do you have an anticipated, I'm somewhere in there, I haven't seen it, but what's the expected cost for phase 2?
We do not have an estimate for the phase 2 work at this point in time.
Okay, and then thank you. And the other question I have is on D, PMSS addendum. And that is, we're increasing this by 800 grand to 2.6 million over that 3-year period ending June, July 26. Okay, how much, and off the top of your head, I expect this. How much has been expended so far, and what do you anticipate through? What do you anticipate through 25 fiscal?
Yeah, so I'm looking right now as far as I think we're about $1 million into what we have expended to date for our program management support services. And we are going through a process of developing, what that cost would be here, as we are also looking at, some of the ADSS work, that's looking at kind of an update to our overall process and schedule with regard to the procurements. So some of that is still being developed in order to understand what exactly the needs are going to be over the full 3-year term.
So we got a little ways to go on
We do.
this. Okay, that was my question.
Certainly.
I appreciate it. Thanks for pulling it off the cuff there for me.
All right, thank you. Any board members have comments on C and D? All right, we'll move on to item number F. Yeah, pull that.
Yes, I generally refrain from acting as grammar police, but in this case, there's a comma missing that does make a difference in the meaning. And I've notified Candace and the President CEO Kevin before. In item number 5, deposit of funds in the statement of investment policy. Is missing a comma before the word including. So that's now been put on the replacement page that you have in front of you.
That's a. Yep. Are you?
Now, that's done unless anyone wants me to get into the details.
I think we're good.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Yeah,
All I was
Mr.
gonna
Kirk,
say is, give me-
you got the mic.
I think get used to this.
me
I've never
too.
been here before. Kevin, thank you for putting this together. This was really helpful. The investment policy. We're all beginning. We're all starting up. This is truly a startup, but this is a process that I very much appreciate that you've taken time to put together. So thank you.
Any board director comments? How about any public comment? Any public comment on consent?
Like to move the consent agenda.
Motion and a second, and that includes a comma, correct? All right, get a roll call, please.
This from Steppa, and who was the second? Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Garvey,
Yes.
Howard,
Aye.
King Tingle,
Aye.
Lackey,
Aye.
McCorriston,
Aye.
Nyberg,
Aye.
Nygaard. Something here. Steppa,
Yes.
Testa,
Aye.
Zuba,
Yes.
Rickman,
Yes.
Marchand.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Move on to item number 5, legislative update and 2025 strategic priorities. To review, Mr. Sheridan.
Thank you, Chair, and we'll be inviting up Gus Corey to give an update to the board on this legislative initiatives and session. And turn over to Mary Ann first for the introduction.
Thank you. So I'm really happy to be here in person with everyone and welcome to all the new members. It's really exciting to be taking on 2025 with you all. I have Gus Curry as Kevin. My name is Mary Ann Payne. I'm the Director of Policy Planning and Environmental. And this is Gus Curry, who's our state legislative consultant. So I just want to quickly review what the action that we're requesting today is to approve the reestablishment of the funding, sustainability, and access ad hoc committees with board member appointments to be made by the board chair. And we're looking at this to guide the development of ValleyLink's 2025 legislative and advocacy program. As everyone I know recognizes, 2025 is shaping up to be a really big year for decisions on transportation infrastructure investments on the federal and state level. And at the regional level, there are significant planning and policy efforts underway that have impacts on project funding priorities. To position the authority to respond and be ready to address uncertain challenges and opportunities in the year ahead, we're recommending the reestablishment of these ad hoc committees to guide the development of our 2025 legislative and advocacy program. The specific ad hoc committees are based on the continued focus of funding, sustainability, and access as strategic priorities for ValleyLink in 2025. If approved by the board chair will appoint members of the board to serve on the ad hoc committees and work with staff to identify specific goals and strategies for the legislative and advocacy program. The ad hoc committees will also support the board in advancing these programs through interactions with key project stakeholders and individuals at all levels of government, including the development of implementation tactics as needed. The staff report in your package includes a discussion of some of the key considerations at the federal, state, and regional level that will guide and inform these efforts. Many you no doubt are very familiar with already. we're fortunate to have Gus with us, and I'm going to turn it over to him to give us an update on what's happening in Sacramento.
Thank you, Marianne. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Directors. Gus Corey, State Legislative Advocate. Pleasure to be here with you. Just quick background, since there's some new faces. So former Assembly Transportation Committee consultant, longtime advocate, including a stint at the California Transit Association, and been doing this for about 26 years. And so very intimately familiar with the needs of ValleyLink, excited to work on your behalf. So just maybe want to give you a quick snapshot of what's going on at the state level, talk about things that we've done and the work ahead and how we can engage more with the board, because we really want your input so that we can be successful with our strategy. So the legislature convened, new class was sworn in back in December. They were in for the day on December 2nd, left, came back on January 6th. Governor Newsom introduced his January 10th budget. It's fairly uneventful when it comes to transportation. There's really no, it's just carryover investments. There's about a $363 million so-called surplus. It's just money that hasn't been allocated to anything yet. We're just subject to wild swings with the state budget because we rely on capital gains, personal income tax, corporate taxes. So you go from a $70 billion surplus to a $70 billion deficit year over year. And so we literally just play the stock market when we finance. Transportation, thankfully, is fairly insulated from that. So there's some predictability. About 3/4 of the legislature, just given this past election cycle, has Democrats represented in the Assembly and in the state Senate. Our delegation obviously changed with redistricting. We used to have Senator Wykowski, Senator Glazer. They've been termed out. The district has changed now. The seat that Senator Eggman represented has been expanded to represent the entirety of the ValleyLink corridor. We also have Assembly Republican leader Heath Flora out of Lathrop that represents a portion of the corridor, and then Assemblymember Ransom from Tracy, who took over for former Assemblymember Carlos Villapudua. So they've been very proactive in reaching out and want to discuss our priorities. And I think what Marianne's alluding to is we want to establish these committees to get your input. So what we've done to date so far through various pieces of legislation that have been enacted, we've been able to get legislation for us to be able to commence activities with building the hydrogen facility. And we've run legislation to be able to expand the tools in our tool chest when it comes to our procurement in order to build the ValleyLink rail system in a timely, cost-effective manner with the construction manager, general contractor procurement authority. I can get into that a little bit later if you want, but long story short, there's several pots of money that are available this year. One is the Senate Bill 125 funds, which for those of you that sit on the SJCOG board, we've had discussions about that. This is San Joaquin received about $93 million of a $5.1 billion statewide pot of funding for transit capital and operations purposes. There's a balance of funds. We're hoping to work with SJCOG to get that investment to build a hydrogen facility and, if possible, complete any outstanding environmental work, basically outside of the initial operating segment. The cap and trade program needs to be extended. This is a really big deal for several reasons. It is for the administration, high-speed rail is a priority. The governor has been wanting to try to bring that project to fruition. Given the new administration in Washington and the new president, it's unlikely that we will receive federal funding for that project over at least the course of the next 4 years. That puts more of a focus on renewing the cap and trade program, where 25% of the proceeds go for the high-speed rail project. But we've also received funding from set-aside pots, $25 million to do some planning work. And so we need to be able to tap into that resource to build out our initial operating segment at a minimum. So we've already been talking to Assemblymember Ransom and Senator McNerney just to set the table without any kind of a strategy, because, again, we want to get your feedback first on that. So that's one big item where we could realistically get additional money. The gas tax is declining year over year. Wearing your various hats, whether that's local streets and roads, whether that's highway maintenance, or whether that's funding for transit. Cars are just more fuel efficient. People just don't drive to work anymore. And so there's a precipitous drop on an annual basis. And so we've been working on a successor source to at least stop the hemorrhaging, grow the pie so that we can invest more into multimodal options such as ValleyLink. So that's another topic. And what we're hoping is the legislature in general, just on high-speed rail, has been very reticent about how they're going to deliver that project. And so what we're hoping to do is to place more of an emphasis that if you can build out the ValleyLink system and now you have that east-west connection, that's also helping out the BART system, where, you know, it's been an intense focus by MTC to try to pursue a prospective regional measure to try to address BART's operating deficit and maybe even San Francisco Muni. But we're waiting on polling there, and yet they don't think that whatever's generated is going to be sufficient enough to cover that deficit. So we really need the state partnership, and we think that we're part of that solution. In order to bring more riders onto the system, you have more of a captive audience by catching people further east, at least 22 miles out to Mountain House, and then ultimately 42 miles when you get to Lathrop. And that also connects to the high-speed rail system and ACE. And so it would be a seamless experience for passengers and would help out local transit, first and last mile service for, say, RTD, for LAFTA, to be able to help out with their ridership, you know, for those bus operators that are still worried about having a deficit, even, you know, 5 years after the pandemic is hit. So we're gaining traction. We hope to, again, get your input on these critical issues, and it's setting up to be a really formative year for us to try to make some progress on getting funding for the project. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll stop. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, guys, thank you. I'll bring it back to the board for discussion and comments.
Mr. Chair.
Start to the far right here, Mayor Joe.
So the state has issues with the budget. Are you saying this ValleyLink is immune, or transportation is immune from any cuts or balancing the budget this year?
So through the chair, so so Director, transportation is predominantly relying upon special funds. So it's the gas tax or it's the vehicle registration fee. It's not so much the general fund. There are exceptions, like the SB 125 funds. That was a general fund augmentation that was made. That was a one-time augmentation. But outside of that, there really isn't much of an impact to transportation programs because most of those are constitutionally protected and they're special funds.
So the other question then is this advocacy issue. Do you have a roadmap where at the federal level? I know you kind of have an idea on the state level where names are thrown here and there that we know. What about the federal level? It's a different environment. And are we really prepared or strong enough to mount a strong advocacy? I mean, we are used to doing some of these things, but I'm just asking from ValleyLink perspective, are you really prepared now?
Through the chair, on a state level, I'm absolutely prepared. On the federal level, I think it's not necessarily in my scope, but I'm happy to work with Director Sheridan and to think about prospective strategies and some grants that we can pursue.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Of course.
Supervisor.
I appreciate the perspective that ValleyLink can help with ridership on BART. Well-documented concern in the Bay Area. Does BART agree and corroborate, and are they willing to step up, write letters of support, advocate, lobby for funding to complete ValleyLink?
It's a great question, Supervisor. I don't know if I can answer that. I'll defer to Director Sheridan.
There is going to be an update on a recent grant that we applied for, and if I'm not mistaken, Bart did provide a letter of support for the RAISE grant or build grant, as they're calling it now. So as we have to continue working with Bart on a number of things, but continue getting their support. But I think getting a letter just recently was a good sign that they're supporting our seeking funding for projects, which will be an update in my report at the end.
Good. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair.
I was somewhat disappointed when I read the staff report, and perhaps it's just a simple matter of semantics, but it said the project is in the implementation, the 2036 to 2050 implementation period. And I was hoping we'd have something a lot sooner than that.
That's the state rail plan reference, I think is what we're talking about, right? So it's a midterm, it's not a long-term. You want to answer that?
So we will be coming back with an update. We just got state rail plan came out, and also MTC planned area 2050 plus. And in that, ValleyLink was moved out to what they call the midterm, which put us in the 2036 range that you're referring to. But there's nothing that would prevent us, if we're ready for construction, from moving up in that timeline. Right. But it is, I would say that it is a concern, because as we go through and estimate the job, we have to estimate it for the year of construction. Right. So for example, a project that was estimated for 2027 or 2026 construction, if now we're being pushed out to 2036, that escalation greatly increases the cost of the project. So our goal is to continue working on delivering the project through these phases of development so that we can raise our hand when it's time for construction and get moved up in the plan. And that was one of the first things I asked Gus and Will is like, what does this do to us? And they checked with Cal STA, and they said that we're not the only ones in that boat. There's a lot of other projects that are in the same set of circumstances, and Cal STA's direction, or what they explained, was that if you finish and you're ready for construction, you can be moved back up into a near term.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if that was just phase one, or if that was phase two going all the way to the second phase of ValleyLink up to River Island and Stockton.
I wish it was also phase two.
Yeah.
But as right now, they put phase one in the midterm with quite a few other projects.
Okay.
And we'll be coming back to the board once we've wrapped our heads around what it does to our costs and our estimates. We'll be coming back to the board with an update here in the next couple of months, how that affects the project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Mayor Kinjo, let me see if anybody else has any comments here first. Director McCorston?
My question is actually on the structure of the committees and the focal point of those committees, so I can push that out when we talk a little bit more about that. But I'm interested, as one of my colleagues over there mentioned, or do we have a supportive advocacy group at the federal level? So in the formation of these strategies or the formation of these committees, I'd be interested in seeing how those are focused. So it's more of a comment than a question at this point.
That was a comment, it wasn't a question, but you want to opine on that, please?
So we haven't had a federal advocacy consultant for 4 years, but staff and some of the board members have continued to work with Congressman Swalwell's office and Harder. And also we have the One Voice trip, or a lot of the different trips that the board members take back to DC where our projects advocated for. So we do have a good connection with our congressional members in DC, but we don't have a consultant advocate like Gus does for the state.
So then to even be more transparent, so the old ad hoc committees, what were the committees? What was the committee structure? Was it focused on state?
We can't hear you. Yep.
The mic down a little bit for you.
Was it focused on state and regional? When this was when this existed,
So the old ad hoc committees were focused on the same kind of, special areas that have been called out in the board report, including funding, sustainability, and access. And that is the intent, to have reestablished, through this item with the board, and then to have the chair, identify members of the board to participate in those committees. And so with regard to, the funding ad hoc committee, there are going to be items that we brought forward with regard to regional, state, and federal funding as a
Thank
part
you.
of those
That answered my
conversations.
question.
And then I think the key thing here, as Mary Ann, I guess, mentioned, is that, we're looking through those committees to be able to, engage the board on some of these very significant issues that are going on right now with the respective landscape that's been kind of identified. And then through that process to be bringing back more, descriptive strategies, with regards to those issues.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
All right, thank you. And what else? Dingle.
Share the mic. Thank you. So the 2028 view, as far as starting a station in the Mountain House area, since things are slipping, is that in jeopardy of starting anything around that time frame?
So as Director Sheridan had mentioned, those are the things that we're working through right now, with understanding the implications of some of the kind of regional planning that's underway. And as, Director Marchand had raised, these are, timeframes that are being identified by our various partners, at the regional level as they're looking at the landscape right now with, assumptions of reasonable revenues within these timeframes across, a relatively large program of projects. So as was mentioned, we're not alone in this. I mean, there are other major projects like the portal or the downtown transit extension in San Francisco, as well as, the BART Phase 2 project, that around San Jose, that are also, going through these, types of issues.
Mr. Chair.
1 second. Ms. Dingle still has the floor.
Okay, so you'll get back to this board as far as the timeline slippage, because it does impact a lot of cities that were planning things along with that. And keeping our public informed is key. I can understand slippage and delay, but going from 2028 to 2036, that's a heck of a slip.
Yes, and as Director Sheridan was mentioning, we're looking to continue to maintain kind of our course of direction and continue to develop the project, to be able to be positioned for those various funding opportunities. But, again, the overall funding at the regional, the state, and the federal level, have become a more complicated landscape.
Thank you.
Director Tingle, that, as Will stated, we continue to move forward with the things that we have to do with the funding that we have for developing. And it's just a matter of when we get to the point where we're actually ready for construction, when we raise our hand or signal that it's time for construction funds, it's a matter of those funds are available. And that's for every project in the state of California. But we will continue our course on the schedule we provided to the board 3 years ago. We're still on that schedule. So it's just a matter of what the landscape or the funding looks like in 2 years from now, which is hard. It's crystal ball at this point. I hate to say it, but that is the way transportation funding works. It's like the tide. I can go back 20 years and tell you every year there was some sort of crisis where funds got moved out and they get brought back in, and then there's different federal stimulus. It's a continual cycle of funding. So right now we're in that what I call it the low tide. And maybe we'll get back to high tide by the time we're in 2027. If I had to do an analogy on funding.
Okay, so this is our best case scenario, but it could end up the date coming in some. Okay. Thank you for answering the question.
Thank you, Director Tingle. Director Akinjo, I see you're over there, but let's see if any other board members have any questions before we go back to. Yes, sir.
Thank you. You mentioned that the cap and trade program needs to be extended. And a figure of 25% of funding, I believe you said, emanates from that program. Could you clarify that for me? Is there some uncertainty around this extension? Are we maybe looking at modifications?
Sure. So the way that the cap and trade program works is that 60% of the proceeds are continuously appropriated. So 25% goes solely for the high-speed rail project. 10% goes to a transit and intercity rail capital program, which is for all other operators. And that's what we qualified for to get the 25 million for our planning money for, a year and change ago. There's 5% that goes for transit operations, and then 20% goes for affordable housing and sustainable communities. That comprises the 60%. The remaining 40 is subject to legislative appropriation. So it could be for stormwater management. It could be for the Department of Forestry. It's solely at the legislature's discretion. And so the reason why they have to extend the program is it sunsets in 2030, but these, whenever they adopt something like the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program, it's not just a one-year augmentation. They do it over a cycle of like 3 or 4 years. So they're missing out on programming capacity. So the last year that they could program anything is 2026. And for something like the high-speed rail project or even some of our projects, you need that predictability, that stability, because for us to get even federal money, you have to show that there's some kind of a state commitment that sometimes serves as a match. And so just to dovetail, so that's why, like the vice chair's question about the high-speed rail plan, it's just being in there, and we advocated to get in there because ValleyLink was not, there was not a pronounced mention of it, in previous documents, but it's just showing that it is a priority for the state. I mean, if we wind up getting the money, they're going to build it. I mean, and it's just really subject to the legislature's will to make that happen and having the availability of resources. And so what we want to be able to do is there's an opportunity to reorient the funding to maybe augment like the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program, or to specifically have a set aside pot of funding where we get either a formulaic distribution or we're one of a small pool that gets to access a competitive pot of funding so that we can help accelerate delivery of the project. These are the types of concepts that we're working on, not just with us, but maybe other regional stakeholders. So you've got the pro tem of the Senate is from the North Coast. So it's Marin Sonoma. He cares about the smart system. The speaker is from the Central Coast. So that's Santa Cruz down to Monterey for him. And there really isn't any coast rail service. And so we're saying, well, wouldn't it be great if you can get some east-west connectivity, and then you use the Central Coast as a spine? Why? Because the rail plan also came out before the new administration. The president took over, for one. I think, and that's changed the calculus a little bit. And then there's also an inspector general report that came out that said, hey, we're not that confident that high-speed rail is going to have the resources that it needs. And so I think everybody now is trying to figure out what's the new paradigm. And that's where I'm saying we have to get cap and trade extended, and we have to create a dedicated revenue source to be able to get those federal dollars, et cetera.
Okay, great. Thank you for that wonderful explanation.
Of course, you got it.
All right, thank you, Director. Director Akinjo, thank you for your patience. I'm going to let you go.
Mr. Chair, I think I forgot what I was saying. But honestly speaking, and we are dropping the ball somewhere. This advocacy and thing, we have been here before, and I think Will was here and the Director Sheridan was here. This pushback, I don't think we did a lot of advocating to get pushed back to 2050 and stuff like. They did that initially, and we were able to bring it back closer than 2020 than 2050. Now we are having this issue now where we are almost like contesting. The idea that other people are doing things doesn't sync with me. I'm only concerned about ValleyLink. I don't care what San Jose is doing. It doesn't matter what they are doing. We need to make sure that this establishment, ValleyLink, survives. And I'm still concerned about where we are in the ValleyLink. We are the one that has to meet the people. The constituents meet us. Where's my train? Up to this morning that I was coming here, where are you going? As I'm going to ValleyLink. You brought a different scenario. Are you ever going to build that thing? So now when I come here now, we are hearing about MTC push not out, waiting for shovel-ready projects to get state funding, and then we do not have anybody in. We can do that. We can go to Washington, D.C. It is time, Mr. Chair, for ValleyLink, if they really want to survive, to have an established consultant. While we are not there, one voice is only once in a year, and all other visiting that we do in Washington, D.C. So the rest of the year, nobody talks about ValleyLink. Maybe now is the time for all of us that are here, since we've been to this situation before, to revisit how we started. Ad hoc committee is good, but if they don't have no backbone, they can't do much. And who are the backbones? Mr. Will and Mr. Sheridan. I think you guys need to really, really take this serious as we, as the face of ValleyLink, takes it so seriously on a daily basis. We need your help. I don't want to be coming here and explaining all these things over and over again. The way ValleyLink has been there, is being pushed back. And we are here now discussing about ad hoc committee and stuff like that. That doesn't really help me much or help any of us much. We need action. We have a new dynamics going on in our nation. Processes that does not work needs to be thrown out. Let's move. And that's where I am. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Kinjo. Anyone else? Anybody online? Don't see it. So we'll open up for public comment. Anybody from the public wish to address the board on this item? Okay, no one, bring it back to the board. Before I entertain a motion, Mr. Sharon, did you think it would be advocate for us to have a federal legislative consultant or somebody like that?
We can certainly reopen and do an RFP for federal advocacy. And most of the reason we haven't is because we're able to get into the FTA's New Starts program, which locks us into a certain funding type. So we're not actually able to compete for other federal funding types because the federal government views it as double dipping. So once you've got your cut out of a certain funding program, you can't go say or apply for a different fund because type of federal funds because they won't let you combine them because you're already funded from the feds, and the local sales tax and state dollars help to leverage those funds. So I would say that we've been very successful at leveraging state funds. But to answer your question, we can look at doing another RFP for federal advocacy. We had one. We just at the time didn't feel like it was worth spending the money on when we already were locked into a federal program and we weren't able to compete for other federal funds. It didn't make sense. But to Mr. Akinjo's point, it does help to have somebody in DC advocating for our project and working with our congressman.
I guess that's something we can discuss for the board and bring back. For me, we shouldn't be spending money if we're not going to get anything out of it. So maybe that's a discussion we can have at a later date, agendize it, and we can discuss it as a board.
Happy to bring
All right, seeing anyone else? If seeing no one, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
A motion and a second. Second by Director McCarlston. You get a roll call, please. It's really hard to hear you.
Who made the motion?
Vice Mayor Marchand.
Seconded by Coruscant.
Yes.
Akinjo. Armstrong.
Yes.
Fugazi.
Foster.
Howard.
Aye.
King Tingle.
Yes.
Lackey.
Abstain.
McCorriston.
Aye.
Nyberg.
Aye.
Aye. Nygaard. Aye. Stepper.
Aye.
Testa.
Aye.
Zuba.
Yes.
Rickman.
Yes.
Marchand,
Yes.
Fugazi,
He's not on.
motion passes.
You Jess?
Chairman, I would volunteer for the appointment to subcommittee as well.
Okay, thank you. And Gus, thank you. Where to go? Thank you very much for your work over in Sacramento. We appreciate it. All right. Move on to item number 6, alternative delivery strategy update. Who would like to take that? Mr. Sheridan, I'm just going to just refer to you every time, so.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Ritter will be handling this presentation.
All right, thank you.
Yes, good evening again, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Deputy Director.
And I am going to be introducing Annie Robbins from ACOM. ACOM is our consultant team that is leading our alternative delivery support services, as we've discussed in the earlier consent item. And Annie's going to be here to talk a little bit about where we have been and where we are in our alternative delivery kind of assessment that is informing, again, how we are looking to procure construction, as well as looking at things like even our vehicle procurement as a part of the overall project. I just want to touch on a couple things that Director McCorston had brought up. Part of our determination of what the scope of our future Phase 2 alternative delivery support services, as well as our future program management support services, involves some of these decisions. And that's not only how we look to determine what type of methodology that we employ across the full alignment of the project for construction, but also, I think, as we've shared in the past, where we may be with negotiations with the California Department of Transportation of how they may be a part of this process, specifically with regards to their ability to support our efforts on delivering the portion of the project along the 12 miles of Interstate 580, where we have to shift out the freeway to open up the median in order to construct the rail alignment down the middle. And we have been in discussions with them as far as the use of their congestion management and manager general contractor authority to be able to effectively oversee the delivery of that portion of the project, or as Gus mentioned, whether or not we might employ our authority that we recently got passed through the legislature. So a number of tools effectively in the toolbox that we can employ that Mr. Robbins will go into and kind of explain, how all these could apply to our project and kind of where we are in that assessment, and appreciate the feedback from the board on this. So thank you.
Thank you. Robbins. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Will. Good afternoon, board members. It's a pleasure to be here today with you. And today I'd like to update you on the authority's efforts to identify the optimal delivery method to design, construct, and deliver the 22-mile Valley Rail line, or the ValleyLink project, excuse me.
Second hand.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay, so the federal government, through the Federal Transit Administration, emphasizes the need to align the project delivery method with the specific objectives of a transit agency. So what we did is we set out by engaging stakeholders, contractors, and others to establish the vision and goals for construction of this project, as well as to identify key objectives, challenges, market conditions, all of that in terms of trying to identify the ideal delivery method. And we went through a process of engaging those stakeholders, workshops, one-on-ones with contractors. We looked at the management capability and capacity of the agency and the owner team as well, and then reviewed all of the options in terms of delivery methods that are being used in the United States today for large infrastructure projects like this. And after filtering through those, we did an analysis using two key tools that are available. One is what's known as the TCRP 131 analysis, and the other being Caltrans, which has a project selection tool. So both of these aim to go through a series of key identifiers, key characteristics of a project, of a specific project such as this, and then kind of weed through those characteristics to try to identify what is the ideal delivery method. And in California and throughout the United States, design, bid, build is the standard. It's been used for many, many years. And I'll explain a little bit more about each one of these. But there are three other delivery methods that are now called alternate delivery methods that seek to sort of improve on design, bid, build, especially for large infrastructure projects, where these larger projects have often suffered from cost overruns, schedule delays, those type of issues. So the alternate delivery methods are all trying to find a way to improve on delivery of major projects, and it really try to foster a collaborative environment between all of the players, all of the entities that are involved in delivering a project: the owner, the contractor, the engineer. So, as I mentioned, design, bid, build is the standard throughout the United States and here in California as well. It has the advantage of being well known. It can be used by every agency, and typically it's awarded that these contracts, when you use design, bid, build, are awarded based on the lowest bid, based on a design package that's undertaken by the authority to 100%. And once the 100% plans are finished, then you go out to bid and you look for the low bidder, and that's who you make your award to. Design build is a alternate strategy that's been in quite a bit of use in recent years as well. The difference with design build is that once the initial plans are developed by the owner under a separate contract with a designer, then those plans are put out in an RFP to seek a design builder, who then is responsible for picking up the rest of the design effort as well as the construction of the project. However, one of the pitfalls that's been experienced in recent years with design build is that since the contract is awarded at about the 30% design level, not all of the risks are known at that time. And both the owner and the contractor are subject to a certain amount of risk. And as a result, the industry and the construction industry has been kind of moving away from the use of design build for these large projects. But it can be used, and it is authorized under California SB4 for use. So perhaps a more recent delivery method that has been used quite a bit in California is what's known as CMGC, Construction Manager General Contractor. And similar to design, bid, build, the design is still controlled by the authority. However, what the main feature of CMGC is that the contractor is brought in at a much earlier stage in the project, in a phase one approach that we call upfront services that the contractor provides. So in this way, the contractor is involved in not doing the design, but in commenting on the design, advising the owner and the designer on issues such as constructability and other issues that are important to identify all the risks on the project, and really seeking to reduce the amount of changes that will occur over time, and mitigating risks that since they will be identified much sooner in the process. So the authority can use this method as well. It is authorized under state statute. So a more recent delivery method is known as progressive design build. And this is similar to design build, but it also takes on the characteristics of CMGC in that there is a phase one where a contractor is brought in to the project at an earlier stage for pre-construction services. However, unlike CMGC, the design responsibility resides with the contractor, similar to design build. And this method has been embraced by the industry because, again, as I mentioned, design build has increased, it's been perceived to increase risk to all parties. This method, progressive design build, really seeks to identify the risks on a project much sooner in collaboration between owner, designer, and contractor. And then after the pre-construction services are done, there's a negotiated guaranteed maximum price, similar to CMGC. There's a similar process for CMGC where after the phase one on these methods, you sit down with the contractor, you negotiate the final price of construction. And in both cases, there is an opportunity for the authority to off-ramp in case you cannot reach an agreement on the guaranteed maximum price. And in the case of an off-ramp, then the authority would have the option to re-procure and essentially start the process over in terms of seeking a contractor. And this method, progressive design build, is also authorized under state statute. So when going through the analysis, as I mentioned earlier, the TCRP analysis, as well as the Caltrans analysis, there are many factors that are weighed against requirements for the project. And through engagement with stakeholders, engagement with the contractors, the factors that I show on the screen here were considered to be key factors to consider for the ValleyLink project. And what happened next was that there was a scoring of each of these methods, each of these delivery methods, to decide which method would be the best for use on the ValleyLink project, considering these and other factors. And the outcome of that scoring actually came up with not only the delivery method, but the way that the project should be packaged. And the recommendation is that for section one of the project, which is the civil work and the highway work along I-580, that the ideal delivery method for that segment, about 12 miles of the project, the scoring came out in favor of CMGC for section one. And for section two, which is the civil work beyond 580, but also including track systems and station work and all the facility work packaged together into section two, the recommendation is to go with a progressive design build approach. Now, the reason for having two different approaches is that section one is along I-580. Caltrans is very familiar with the use of CMGC. There needs to be a lot of collaboration with Caltrans in order to execute that part of the project. They're not as familiar with progressive design build. And in some ways, it's a more straightforward section of the project. So it lended itself to CMGC, again, having the advantage of bringing the contractor in early, working directly with the designer and the authority in identifying risks, identifying constructability issues, and then moving into a negotiated price, negotiated guaranteed maximum price. For section two, which involves laying in all of the systems, for example, the track, the signaling systems, communication systems, all of these systems, there's more interfaces involved in that work. And the interfaces can get quite complex. So in order to reduce the risk to the authority, progressive design build is an approach where the design and the construction are the responsibility of the contractor, and they are best able to manage those complex interfaces. And for that reason, the recommendation is to go with a progressive design build approach. So the key here is 2 delivery packages, each one well suited to the section of the project, 2 delivery methods, and then 2 packages based on the characteristics of the first 12 miles versus the next 10 miles of the project. So with that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Robin, thank you. And this is just an informational item, but anybody from the board wishing to make comments or questions? Director Kinjo.
So are you assuming that there's no risk? Is there any construction actually that has the whole risk mapped out? I can give you some specific example, but you should have one that has all the risk involved in any construction project, large project, and has all of them mapped out. Can you give a specific where you change the design from design build to the other one to progressive build and all kind of stuff like that?
Okay, if I understand your question, I would say that all of these projects have risk, obviously. And there are risks all throughout the project. I think the key is early identification of risks. So, right early on, and there already is a risk register for this project that's reviewed on a monthly basis. But through these alternate delivery methods, we have the ability to start engaging the contractor as well. So right now we have a designer, and we have the owner team. We don't have a contractor on board yet. And with design bid build, bringing the contractor on would be the subject of a bid down the road. But under the other 2 alternate delivery approaches, we have the ability to bring the contractor in early, and they will also get involved in the risk discussions that we are currently having, so that we have their practical input in terms of issues like constructability, which they know that's their business. They know that very, very well. The risk of long lead items and procurement issues, all of the things that affect their ability to actually finish the design and construct the project, the logistics of a project, the maintenance of traffic, very important aspect of building a project like this. So I think that's key advantage of these alternate delivery approaches, whether it's CMGC or progressive design build. We get the ability to bring the contractor in early, and we get an earlier identification of risk.
So what happens then if under the 2 new ways of doing things, if the project is delayed or not completed according to specifications, who is in charge at that point? Is it the lawyers? That would be now we have to go to court to sue for the correction that was not made initially, because now they have identified all the risk, you said, which I disagree with, that you can really see all the risk ahead of time. But it is possible. So what do we do at that point?
Okay, I understand, what you're saying. So I talked about the identification of risk, but what that helps us do is inform who is responsible for what, right? And you want to place the risk with the entity that's best suited to mitigate the risk. So through a risk assessment, we can decide, okay, maybe this is something the contractor can handle the best, or maybe the owner for a particular risk can handle a risk better than the contractor, because we don't want the contractor doing work on some unknown element of the project, because then, we would be subject to a claim from the contractor. So that's kind of how it works, is that you do the risk identification, you identify mitigations, and you identify risk allocation. And in the contract, and our legal advisors will certainly help form the contract. There are dispute resolution methods that are put into the contract. So if we do start having disagreements, You know, we don't want to go running to court right away, right? We want to have a way to resolve the disputes, and those are things that are put into the procurement documents. Yeah.
Thank you,
There's
Director.
about a 20-second scenario we could give you on that too. If I can have 20 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I know we have time. I'll come up to the podium. Yes, sure. If we have any contractors in the room, no. I know all my secrets. We do. So let's say we do the standard design bid build type. Authority prepares the plans and they hand them to you, Mr. Contractor, and a bunch of contractors bid on them, and they have experts and they look through the plans. They say, okay, I can make money here. I can make money here. I can make money here because I see problems in this contract. That's just the way it works. And so they'll low bid the project sometimes, and I'm not saying they do it purposely, but that's part of the competitive nature of a design bid build contract. So you hand them your plans and you say, here are my plans. Go out and build this project per my plans. And then as you get into construction, those risks start to present themselves. And then it's like, oh, well, that wasn't in your plans, change order. That wasn't in your plans, change order. Next thing you know, there's a bunch of money there and it becomes a dispute or who is responsible for those risks. And I'm grossly oversimplifying this. So for the other types of delivery strategies we're looking at, the contractor comes in early and says, okay, I'm going to put my idea here on how you could do this better. It's the innovation. I can do this here. I can do this here. I can do this here. And then they have an opportunity at first bid or crack at bidding that project based on what they know in that contract because they helped insert it there. So what happens then is it's not just my plans, it's my plans plus their plans, and they are responsible for what they put into that contract that they said they could do. So it's all about risk assignment. It's really like, I own this risk, they own this risk. And the idea is that they eat the cost if it's their fault, not the agency. That's I probably really simplified that for you. Sorry, I know there's a lot more to it, but.
Could we deny budget amendments? On that, based on your scenario. So you come here, you say, okay, this is what we have. And the council or the body say, well, we're not going to approve that budget amendment. It is yours now. So what do we do at that point?
So in that case, if our construction team didn't agree with that risk or that cost was something to be borne by the authority of the agency, then it would be up to the contractor, and if they said that they didn't think that they owned it, then that's where you get into arbitration and liquidated damages, perhaps at some point in time. But, it happens, but it doesn't always happen. So I'll leave it.
All right, we got clarity on that? Good.
Mr. Healy. Build or this other two, there's always risk involved in any major construction like we have here and stuff like that. I just want the body to understand that many of us are facing some of those, maybe not in direct line of what you are saying, but is there.
All right, thank you. Director McCorston, you have a question?
Very quickly, I tend to approach this from clarification because I'm not as experienced as Mr. Kinjo. Yeah. Hear me okay? So the word recommendation was made. I just want to make sure you're not coming to the board for this. You're just allowing us to understand the process and that the executive director and you folks are going to be making those decisions on the structure and the approach and the deliverables. I just want to make sure about that because I was going to ask for, hey, it'd be great to see the pros and the cons, but I just want to back off and say, look, are we, there's questions here about the risks, and that's why my direction of questioning comes up. So I just wanted to confirm that you're not coming to us for anything at all, not particularly now, or it's just to give us.
That's correct, Director. We basically have made a preliminary assessment of what our team feels would work best on the two different parts of the project. And at this point in time, these appear to be the recommended methods, but we are just introducing these methods to the board, and we'll come back at a later time as we get closer to construction for a decision on it.
Thank you. That answers the question.
Thank you, Director. Anyone else?
Yeah. As a owner's project manager in a CMGC environment in the past, I want to thank you for such a clear explanation of the type of management and minimization of risks that are involved in the CMGC and PDB environment. As you know, mitigation of risk is huge because anything that results in changes, especially as time goes on, means a lot more money, a lot more in costs, not just because they occur, but because the longer the project goes on, the greater ripple effect there is through procurement, through schedule, and ultimately claims that are lodged. So I'm a big believer in the recommendation that was made, and even though there's no vote being asked for, I support it. Thank you.
Sure. Seeing no one else, we'll open up for public comment. Anybody from the public wish to address the board on this item?
The public wishing to speak on this item.
All right. We'll bring it back to the board as just information, so we'll move on. Thank you very much. Move on to item number 7, which is the project labor agreement update. Peter, is that you?
Yes, and I'm just going to again introduce our speaker, Lauren Jaquith, who is also a part of our alternative delivery support services team, who is focusing on both the project labor agreements as well as our disadvantaged business enterprise program, which we'll be bringing back to the board in April, along with recommendations on the goals that we'll be looking to establish. But again, another very significant, or important part of the project, and wanted to share with you kind of the work underway to be able to assess, how we look to potentially employ a project labor agreement in collaboration with our various labor unions in both Alameda as well as San Joaquin County. So,
thank you.
I'm sorry. Is it letting me? Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So he already kind of did a little bit of the introduction, but I am part of the alternative delivery support team. We're Jaquith Consulting Group, and we're here to support in the PLA implementation and putting that together. I'm Lauren Jaquith. I've had about 23 years of experience, specifically with large infrastructure light rail projects with high-speed rail, Metrolink, LA Metro are a few of the ones I've worked on. I primarily have focused on, as stated, DBE, labor compliance, and PLA through those decades. What we initially did is we provided an overview for the staff of PLAs within the region that sister agencies have utilized, some of the benefits of these programs, and the different elements and standards set within them. We provided an overview of the local workforce development opportunities, as well as general FTA recipient guidance and conformance with PLA programs, as well as lining out kind of a schedule and a map for if we were to implement a PLA. Why should the authority consider a PLA? PLAs ensure project continuity without disruption for labor disputes. In 20 years, there's never been an instance of a strike or walkout when there is an active PLA. Provides a reliable supply of qualified workers at predictable cost. Increases project safety due to set agreement and specified standards within the PLA that all the CBAs agree to. Opportunities for identifying and incorporating workforce development initiatives such as apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship readiness programs. And local jobs mean reinvestment in the local community. a second slide on why you should consider a PLA. There's also opportunities for developing stakeholder partnerships to advance the project community objectives, collaboration with project jurisdiction trade councils to ensure skilled and trained local workforce placement. What that essentially means is that we want to ensure that any of the goals and standards we set for this, if we set for the PLA, we're able to attain those and meet those goals. PLAs are currently being used by many other California transportation agencies, specifically for light and consumer rail construction. Some of these include BART, LA Metro, California High-Speed Rail, Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority. And you may know them by different names. So sometimes the word or the acronym PLA may get a strong response. So you may hear a CBA, a PSA, they're all PLAs. So they just have different acronyms. To date, the authority has, and actually this is updated, we have met with the San Joaquin Building and Construction Trades Council and Building and Construction Trades Council of Alameda County, and we're lucky to have them here with us today. They will be a negotiating partner in this PLA. We have reached out to the appropriate FTA contact to seek guidance in developing the project labor agreement to ensure that it aligns with FTA principles. This is a general roadmap, but at a very high level, receiving FTA guidance, initiating discussions with the building trades would be in February. In March, we would hope to determine the PLA coverage and scope areas or what's currently anticipated to be scopes. Engage local stakeholders regarding partnerships. Again, we would be doing that through the building trades and their partnerships and their established programs. In April, providing the authority with the report and recommendation again, that's our aim for the April 9th board meeting. And we would look for a submission. The final PLA would be submitted by the trades to NAB2. And we'd also probably alert FTA. We're not required to get FTA approval, but we'd likely alert them of our PLA. Some of the PLAs on other California federally assisted projects, you have your Bay Area Rapid Transit, which is their PSA. Several BART public works projects are governed by PSAs. Each PSA has specific requirements and goals. The California High-Speed Rail CBA. The CBA's targeted worker program ensures that national targeted workers perform at least 30% of all project work hours, and disadvantaged workers perform at least 10%. And that was the first statewide PLA. It really set the standard for the LA Metro one that came a little bit after, and some of the other ones following that. LA Metro PLA, LA Metro served as a pilot for FTA-funded projects seeking to implement local hiring requirements during a 4-year pilot period from May 21, 2021. It continues, and they're actually far exceeding those percentages they initially aimed for with the local hire. The Port of Oakland PLA includes hiring goals for disadvantaged populations and apprentices. VTA also has a PLA, which promotes careers in construction industry for underrepresented workers. And San Diego, the Otay Mesa Port Expansion Project PLA. This guarantees prevailing wages and sets hiring goals for disadvantaged workers, apprentices, and minorities. So I know that was a lot of information in a short period, but I don't know if there's any additional questions on PLAs, some of the benefits of them, concerns.
All right, well, thank you very much, and we'll find out. Anybody from the board have any questions or concerns?
Questions today. Must be the coffee. Standard provisions in these PLAs. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us here have had the experience. Is there a provision in there to ensure? I mean, this is going to be a multiple county-wide project, and we want to ensure, skilled labor is absolutely important. We want to also make sure that we're getting people from the region, effective region, as a priority in this. And that's one real quick question. I'm wondering if that has probably been contemplated in this whole analysis.
Local hire?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's just a yes, we're good on that, right? And then I forgot the other one was done.
Sure. So local hire will definitely be considered, and it's a key component in many PLAs. And I would definitely recommend that especially there's been a lot of discussion today about executive orders and the current administration. What's really key here is whatever we developed within a PLA, including local hire, things that change later, we would be grandfathered in. So we'd be able to preserve what we established within that PLA.
Thank you. And then I did remember what the other one was. You said there was never any experience of having delays or issues like that might have contributed to delays. I think I heard you say that.
A walkout or
Walkout or
disturbance
shutdown.
to the work in a
And so that was interesting to me, that statement, because we've seen some of this in different industries right now, shutdowns, maybe different here. We're just relying on history, or do we know for a fact that will be, for lack of my ignorance, guaranteed regardless of the situation of the trades?
So that is it's supposed to be a guarantee within the PLA.
Yeah.
Again, I can double check for facts. I don't want to say something if I can't, but in my experience, I've never seen that, especially on the ones that we've listed. Part of the guarantee within the PLA is that they are required to show up for work. So there may be instances where other workers may strike or protest certain things, but it will never disrupt the work occurring. So no one can say I was supposed to show up to work today and I'm not going to. And that's part of the components of the PLA, and it's one of the standard agreements that the CBAs would abide by.
Thank you.
Director, anyone else? Supervisor.
I just want to say that sorry, I had to take a call. I'm back here. We're talking about PLAs, very supportive. Want to just make sure that we are all on the same page, that we are, at least I'll advocate for having a PLA, having a discussion with our trades, having the discussions that you just mentioned where nobody walks off the job, having the discussion where especially components that are requiring super skilled labor, we want this done right. For accepting federal funds, it's going to be a requirement. We're not going to shirk that requirement. We're going to go all in on that requirement. So that's my perspective.
Thank you, Supervisor. Anyone else? Yeah. Director Chinjo.
Yes. Let me just touch on the elephant in the room. Okay. So you're going to meet all this diversity. You're going to meet what's the other one? I don't see the slide anymore where you are having minorities and all those things. The current air in our federal level does not support that. So what are you going to do about that before I support the PLA, some extent, but if the federal level, I'm only concerned about ValleyLink. The ValleyLink needs money from the federal level. Okay, if those things are not compatible, then what do we do? So you want us to go this route, and that this gentleman there in DC that said no. So, because if there's any rail derailment, then it is the fault of those minorities that you hired.
So the PLA actually supports many. So it's not just minorities, it's your veterans, it's your local hire, your skilled laborers. It's really supporting many components, but the current executive orders are directed at federal letting of projects. So the rescinding of that 35 million for PLAs, it's only for your FTA or your DOT. And part of that, to be honest, there wasn't very many projects let in the time period. So when that was initially had gone out, there's only about 4 or 5 projects that actually were awarded. So there wasn't enough time to actually see what could be done within those PLAs. But to clarify and kind of answer more directly, that does not impact ValleyLink. So subrecipients, that executive order does not attach to it. So that would not be a component. And the real driver, again, for PLA is not just the diversity. That's something that's a benefit from many of the components, but it's really keeping the work, creating the skilled workforce, ensuring there's no stoppage in the work, which can be very detrimental to funding and meeting those, your end dates when things have to happen. So really, those are the bigger drivers of the PLA.
Well, I think you should be aware of the prevailing air that is going on. You see, this is the issue I have. When you want to do something of this magnitude, that this not only ValleyLink, you say, well, it doesn't affect ValleyLink. We are setting up an ad hoc committee that's going to go to DC to advocate for money. So then how do we balance our promises to the people that are here in our region and to the funding that is going to be held up because of some of these dynamics that is shaping up to be the way things are going? So I think you should get ready for those things. Talking and all these things, they are very easy. But when it comes to getting that money, and you have to meet, there was a fire. Let me give you an example to guide you. Give nothing to California. It's a blanket. It's a blanket assertion. But we know that victims need support. The fire victims need support. The builders are now trade and balancing and doing all those things. They will be there. But how do we get those things moving when we have all these things like an ash, a cloud over the PLA, and how to help the communities that we belong to? That's just my concern, and it's an observation. It's not limited to PLA alone. Could affect any other projects. So when you are bringing up this planning, please include your method, your methodology, how you want. I'm not saying bypass, don't cut corners, but you have to be specific and direct in how you want to approach that. Those communities that we talked about are actually benefiting from the PLA.
Thank you. And it's definitely a concern. It's something that was a big portion of actually our discussion with the trades already, of understanding that what the environment is, making sure we're considering that in developing these standards, these rules, when we're putting this PLA together. We've also been in very, very close contact with other sister agencies that have current PLAs, because they're regularly speaking to FTA about what is coming down the pipeline, what's being impacted. So we definitely hear you, and that will be a primary goal throughout this process.
All right. Thank you,
Mr. Chair.
Director Kinjo. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned various agencies that have used PLAs for various projects. Of course, one of the main concerns as the owner is that the owner wants value for money. And I take it that your presentation described various ways that value for money is realized. To what extent is there negotiation involved in ensuring that value for money, and that, money is not, one side doesn't make more money than they should, to put it bluntly. And to go along with that, PLAs and prevailing wage agreements kind of synonymous or always go together? Could you explain, how that's put together?
Using PLAs and project labor agreements? I'm sorry?
Yeah, prevailing wage.
So prevailing wage is set, and it's a standard, and it's also based on when the work is let. So depending on the date of the work as it goes out, that'll set the prevailing wages for the different trades. As far as, I think you kind of noted it, but cost-wise to the authority, with these unified standards, it actually helps protect the authority in being able to anticipate and know cost prior. So you're not going to be blindsided by different rates that you're not able to forecast. So that is part of the benefit of a PLA. A big benefit as well is the safety standards. Anyone within a PLA, there has to be very, very set safety standards. As you know, an incident or an accident can be incredibly detrimental to a project. So those are some of the key areas when you look at cost of where this will be very, very beneficial. And as far as other costs, if you're looking at apprentices or benefits, it's actually the contractors and the unions that are paying into these funds that are helping the community and the local workers, but not the authority is not paying into that.
Okay, and just to note, I am a supporter of the PLA, and congratulate the Building and Trades Union on sending out letters to people. I have received, and probably many of the directors here have also received in the past, letters from the Building and Trades Council advocating for PLAs for, the kind of public projects that we provide. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
No. You winking at me? No? No good? All right. Thank you. We're going to open up for public comment, but I just want to talk about what Director Akinjo was mentioned. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. I mean, trades is a great job. We hear even our president talking about trades and the types of jobs. And so when we were talking about PLAs, we're talking about pretty much jobs, and we're talking about local jobs.
Correct.
And keeping that, keeping our local workforce, both in Alameda and San Joaquin County, focused in their community. So when they spend their money, they're spending in their community that they're working, which helps all the cities and the counties and where you live. And also we're talking about, and you mentioned before, is time. We mentioned this before. Time frame, how we're going to build this and how long it's going to take. If we have a PLA, if we have a local workforce that has that record of not calling in sick or whatever it may be, so you're being consistent and your project will be completed when we say it's going to be completed. Did I miss anything on that?
No.
Yeah, and I've been to Washington, D.C., as many of you have, multiple times talking to our legislators. I've been to Washington or Sacramento talking to our legislators up there. And, creating jobs, that's always on everybody's agenda, be it state, federal, local. And this is what, we'll be doing here with ValleyLink. And also, under budget, on time is something that the state and feds, if they're going to give us money, they want to reassure that our project's going to be completed. And then, so when we're talking about PLA, that's a huge benefit. Am I missing anything on that?
No, it really is creating true career pathways for your local community so that they're able to support themselves, they're able to grow, especially through the pre-apprenticeship program. I mean, essentially they're getting the training and getting paid during that time and not accumulating, mountains of debt. And they have a full career ahead of them and benefits.
Trades is, I think was something we're all very interested in. We hear a lot, hey, kids, you graduate from high school, you need to go to college and get a degree and whatever it may be. But you see it beginning to shift and about the trades, how much money you can make in the trades, support a family, have, insurance and so on. I think that's something we all want for, I know, hey, I'm a parent and want for our kids. So with that, I'll stop there. And Director Albert.
Yeah, so one question with regard, we talked about earlier, funding, being approved for funding, fighting for funding. Can we lock arms with the trades and say, let's fight together so that the people making those decisions can help us fund our projects?
That would be the goal that we're hoping they're true.
We're in it
partners.
together. But I want to be very clear, next steps. I think we need to work toward, have we had in-person meetings? I'm looking at, okay. We need to schedule, I think, very specific and clear meetings with the trade so that we know what's coming sooner rather than later. And I would like to make sure that we do that. I don't know when the right time is, but
we have met informally for lunch, but we can have some more formal discussions. Part of today's information item is just to let you know that we're working towards bringing a PLA to the board to approve of as a general policy in the future. And there'll be different elements of that PLA that cover different types of work, but overall it's going to be a policy.
I think you heard your near unanimity. Okay. Okay. My perspective. I think the shift happened 20 years ago, Chair. Trades are a great job and the training facilities and the apprenticeships and the program is already a great opportunity for our local communities. And so let's get those meetings together. Let's fight together for the funding that we need. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Director, and I agree. I'm going to open up for public comment. Anybody from the public wish to address the board on this item? There you have a 3-minute time limit.
2 minutes. Thank
you. All right, thank you.
We have 3 members of the public wanting to make public comment. This is Tim Robinson. Are we in 2 or 3 minutes?
Let's go ahead and do 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Rickman and members of the board, for your time today and your really thoughtful discussion on project labor agreements. My name is Tim Robertson. I'm Executive Director of the San Joaquin Building Trades Council, representing over 10,000 current union construction workers and their families, and thousands more who have yet to join their path to prosperity, that is the apprenticeship program and union employment that is going to change their lives and the lives of their families. Frankly, you all have done a really good job, and Lauren did as well, outlining all of the benefits of project labor agreements, and we're really excited by the partnership with the staff here and all of the board members here that we already know, which is, all those from San Joaquin County and those that we don't know yet, to continue to work together on this project. To your concerns, we are very committed as the Building Trades Council to making sure that we use opportunities like this to grow our apprenticeship programs for local workers. We have 19 apprenticeship programs, and then we run our apprenticeship readiness program to help provide new opportunities to individuals to from as early as just graduating from high school to feed into these apprenticeship programs. So in addition to the project specific benefits of this and the certainty of labor and all of those things, we really are partners in helping pay this off as an investment in our communities and an investment in the workers that live here and want to work here, or live in San Joaquin County and want to work in San Joaquin County. And those in the future that are going to get new opportunities for training to have these excellent careers as a result of this project labor agreement. So I think we can all be proud of this step that we're taking along with this project, and it's going to make it much more meaningful for all of our communities. I would also say that this is not the first step that we've taken along with ValleyLink. We just recently wrote a letter on behalf of the RAISE grant, Supervisor Halbert, and we are already hand in hand in advocating for this project, as many of you know, and we are excited about the opportunity to continue doing that, and really can't wait to get boots on the ground and start creating some real good quality local jobs through this project. So again, appreciate all your support and look forward to anything we can do to help on this process. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Robertson. Anybody else which will address the board on this item?
Yes. Yeah. Michael Mark.
Mr. Mark. You got 30 seconds.
We will be quick. Very quick 30 seconds. Again, my name is Michael Mark. I'm the Financial Secretary Treasurer of the San Joaquin Building Trades and also representing Sheet Metal Workers Local 104. We actually cover Alameda County, San Joaquin County, and also Contra Costa County via sheet metal. One thing that was said was partnership. Right. This is a true partnership with ValleyLink. We're very excited for this to go forward. When it comes down to the local opportunities for veterans via helmets to hard hats, that's so key. There's really no other avenue where they can actually earn as you learn, get their GI Bill, and still go to apprenticeship school. So that's very key. There was a question on the ability on strikes and pickets and the ability to actually go to work. So that is a commitment that labor, we are losing one of our key bargaining things by partnering and saying we were committed to this project going forward, that we will not do that. So that's that whole labor strife, and it's very key. And that is one of a key benefit of making sure, as the agency understands, when it comes to projects on time means on budget, really, right? Every month delay, every delay longer via the procurement process, it does cost additional money. So there is a proven track record where projects that have a PLA in place comparable to other projects, there's usually a 4% advantage of the final costs for those specific projects in the end. So for the owners, you're usually getting about 4, and there's a study by IPA that does it. I can forward that to the group. So in the end, we're committing to a local hire, making sure, and I appreciate the board here. There's, when I'm looking around the room, almost everyone on the boards have had some kind of conversation and dialogue with community workforce training agreements, project labor agreements, and just in the end, creating those apprentice opportunities for your local workforce. We want to make sure the San Joaquin County, the Alameda County, Contra Costa County residents are working on ValleyLink. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mark.
Next public speaker is going to be Brian Luna.
This guy gets 30 seconds.
Thanks, Dave. I'll take 30 seconds because I think everybody teed it up already perfect here, but I appreciate the whole board here and the presentation. I'm here today representing Alameda County Building Trades. I am on the executive board there, and we are happy that you guys are strongly encouraging this. Not are we only going to put local folks to work. I know I've had conversations with many of you on the board. I would hate to see someone drive by the job going to another job in the Bay Area when they could be working on that job. And that's what we're doing here by putting a project labor agreement in place. We're ensuring that local workforce gets a crack at the job and we can put local people to work, the reinvestment of tax dollars back into the community. And that's huge. We're looking at creating apprenticeship opportunities for all, right? All the trades that have work in this. It's very, very, very important that we put local folks to work. And that's what this does. I mean, we had a picture on the screen, I think during the presentation, of everybody in bumper to bumper traffic coming over the Altamont. This project eliminates that, some of that traffic. And I think by putting this PLA forth, eliminates that too, to put more folks to work in that local community. To what my counterpart, Michael Mark, said about the work stoppages point. The advantage in having this agreement is labor harmony, and we look as a partnership with you folks here around the table. And we want to be partners on however we can, whether it's writing letters of support for funding or however we can make this thing go forward. So appreciate your time and look forward to the continued partnership. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody else on the public wish to address this board on this item? All right, so now bring it back to the board.
I think I heard him say they're going to try to get a sales tax passed in San Joaquin County. Did I hear that? I wasn't sure.
I'm sorry, did somebody from the public wish to? Somebody? No. All right. Mr. Albert, thank you for your comment. And hey, thanks for you very much for the trades for being here. As Director Hubbard mentioned, partnering together to create jobs and to make ValleyLink a reality. Because I know myself and Mr. Zuber over there have to fight the traffic going home. It'd be nice if it was a little less thick, that's for sure. And Mr. Kinjo. So, all right, this is just for information. So we're gonna, yes.
I would like to make a comment.
Dottie, I didn't forget about you. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make it known on the record that I strongly support PLA. I think this is a great, like Michael Mark had mentioned, a partnership. Yes, it brings great quality. It improves quality. It improves safety standards. You get more opportunity for our youth to have pathways, but in turn, it is an investment. So our local economies actually benefit, our families benefit, the overall project benefit. So just want to say I'm very pleased that this actually came before this commission, and I just want it known that I do strongly support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Nygaard. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 8, the Alstom zero emission rail vehicles. This is just for information. Who would like to take this?
Bill Harrell will be taking the item, and we're getting close to the end of the agenda. So excited to bring Bill and Alstom up.
Good afternoon, Chair, Rick, and directors. Bill O'Hare, ValleyLink Rail Engineering, Construction, and Operations Director. Today we have Alstom here to make a presentation to the board on their zero-emission hydrogen-powered rail vehicle. Alstom is a worldwide supplier of rail vehicles and transit systems. Making the presentation today for Alstom will be Ian Hodgkinson. Ian is their business development director. He has more than 20 years of varied experience in the rail industry with Alstom Transportation. Also from Alstom, we have Muriel Liu, Vice President and Customer Director for Alstom US West, and also Carrie Hillis, Public Affairs Manager for Alstom US West. Ian? And I guess, are we set up here?
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you. Just hit share and then, yeah. Oh, sorry.
How many slides do we have here? It's not like 45 or something like that, right?
No, it's a little late in the afternoon for an extensive PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, ValleyLink staff, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. It's really a pleasure to be here with you. As Mr. O'Hara mentioned, my name is Ian Hodgkinson. I'm a business development director with Alstom. Today, I'd like to give you a bit of an overview of our solutions and our technology in terms of zero emissions for passenger rail and how that technology could be applied to ValleyLink. Just a little bit of a further introduction with regards to Alstom by way of preface, if you'll bear with me. Alstom, as it currently stands, is as a formation of previously two large companies, Alstom Transportation and Bombardier Transportation, which merged roughly a little over 3 years ago. And in so doing became the second largest passenger rail company in the world, and certainly the company with the broadest geographic scope and also broadest scope in terms of portfolio of products. We've got operations across the world. Our largest footprint currently is in Europe, although the Americas, North and South America, vie for second place with Asia Pacific, depending on the year and the time frame. Just a sense of financials, we're just shy of 20 billion in terms of sales in our last financial year, roughly the same in terms of orders, and a healthy backlog in terms of projects. To talk a little bit about the things we offer, so we're going to talk a lot about rolling stock today, or trains. A lot of folks think about trains when they think about Alstom, but we do a lot more than just trains. We also provide signaling solutions, also known as train control solutions. We also provide elements of infrastructure. And I think perhaps most interesting, we also provide operations and maintenance. So we also routinely operate commuter trains from coast to coast across the nation, providing daily service and getting people to work on a daily basis. With regards to our footprint in the United States, this slide combines a few different things. I'll speak to the little pictures first, which give you kind of a perception of some of the technologies we provide. In the lower left, you'll see an image of the LAX People Mover, which we're actually currently working on delivering, and we're providing the technology there. Towards the center, you'll see an example of the bi-level for Metra that we're currently in the process of delivering. Likewise, a bi-level for New Jersey Transit. And then you'll see light rail vehicles, the high-speed train that will be going in for Amtrak, the Avail at Liberty. And then also last, but certainly not least, and material to our conversation, is the Odysseus single deck, which is going in for Connecticut DOT, which is a single deck commuter car rail vehicle. In terms of our footprint across the nation, the little red dots indicate locations where we have engineering and manufacturing capability, and we do manufacture rail cars in the United States. And we also have engineering capacity within the United States. And the blue dots represent various projects of different scopes across the coast, from coast to coast, excuse me. Particularly important in California, we already have an extensive presence in the California area. So as some examples in the Bay Area, Alstom actually constructed the BART cars, which actually serve over here to Dublin. I was quite proud to ride one out here today. It was a thrill to finally be able to take a ride on one. We also operate and provide services at SFO for the air train. We provide vehicles for ACE. We also provide operations and maintenance services at various facilities across California. So we do already have a footprint in California. In the spirit of a picture is worth 1,000 words, perhaps a video is even more so. So we have a very short 1-minute video just to give a quick overview of zero emission technologies, which I'll then relate to how it could apply to ValleyLink Rail, if you'll bear with me, please. So here given that we don't have sound, I'll narrate a little bit, but here it says that Alstom's favorite color is green, and we have a little bit of staggering, but it shows some of the projects that we've worked on. This is, here we have a battery, a train. Here we see various hybrid hydrogen trains. Also, we've provided a battery EMU. This is in Germany. Here's a hydrogen train operating in North America, which I'll comment on in a few seconds. And so we have basically a broad portfolio which includes both battery zero emission technologies and hydrogen zero emission technologies on a range of different platforms, ranging from light rail all the way up to commuter platforms, such as we contemplated for ValleyLink. So just to speak a little bit more about that, there's really two key projects which we have in Europe, which use what we call zero direct emission technologies. One is the Caradia Continental BEMU. BEMU stands for Battery Multiple Unit. So it's a train that is a lot like a battery electric car, where the propulsive energy is stored in batteries on board the vehicle, and that's what drives it forward. The other is the Island, which is perhaps our most famous vehicle, which is a hydrogen EMU, which we call an HEMU, in which case it's powered by hydrogen propulsion. So a hydrogen fuel cell provides the electricity, which provides motive power for the train. Just a word, an interesting anecdote about hydrogen and its application in North America. A year and a half ago, we actually had the distinction of becoming the first folks to operate a hydrogen-powered passenger rail vehicle in North America. We brought one of the Island vehicles over to Quebec and operated it between Quebec City and Charlevoix in Canada. It operated 4 days a week throughout the summer, transporting passengers, connecting Quebec City into a tourist region called the Charlevoix, which is quite beautiful and extraordinary if you ever have the opportunity to visit it. We collaborated with a number of different local partners, including a local energy supplier. So we're able to source zero emissions hydrogen, so green hydrogen in the Quebec City region to power the vehicle, and to combine that with our local operators who helped bring the project together and make it a success. Just some of the statistics on the project very succinctly. We transported just under 10,000 passengers, covered just under 6,000 miles, and got a fuel economy of about 70 or 27 kilograms of hydrogen for 60 miles in terms of travel. On average, we traveled around 30 miles per hour. That was lower than the speed of the vehicle, just because we were limited by some of the track constraints, and we refueled a total of 60 times. And in fact, the photo actually shows the temporary refueling facility that we were able to set up in Bay St. Paul in the Charlevoix region. To explain really quickly how a hydrogen train works, and I realize it's perhaps a little bit late in the day for a diagram, so I'll try and go through it succinctly. If you look at the diagram of the train at the bottom of the screen, on the roof of the train, you'll see there are a number of blue components. The biggest blue component is a hydrogen fuel tank. So on board the vehicle, compressed gaseous hydrogen is stored on the vehicle. The second blue component is a fuel cell. So the fuel cell reacts gaseous hydrogen with oxygen extracted from the air, gives off a water molecule to the atmosphere as its only exhaust product, and generates electricity. That electricity goes to move the train and also to recharge an onboard battery, the battery being the red component you see underneath. And then you see the green components, which are conventional electric propulsion for a rail vehicle. So in a nutshell, a hydrogen rail vehicle is essentially an electric rail vehicle where the energy and the electricity is generated by a combination of hydrogen and batteries. So how could this relate to ValleyLink? I think one of the important things to note is the Island vehicle that we spoke about is a vehicle that's designed to operate in Europe. And the reason we were able to bring it to North America and Quebec is because we found essentially a corner of the world where we could use a European vehicle unmodified, or largely unmodified. However, in the context of ValleyLink, our constraints are more significant. And so the product that we think would be best suited is our Odysseus single deck platform, which we spoke at a little bit earlier in the program. Essentially, in this case, it's a car body shell that's designed to meet North American standards for passenger rail. In other words, it's an 85-foot long car. It meets FRA crash compliance up to 8,000 pounds compression load. It meets ADA, APTA standards, NFPA standards, all the prevailing standards that are typically required across the United States. So that's the car body shell. Then combined with that are proven bogies or trucks, which actually have the wheels and the motors on them. And to this ensemble of components that are designed for North America, we would take the propulsion technologies from Europe and marry them together. So it's a combination of a car body that's designed to work on an American railroad with proven propulsion technology that comes from Europe. And in that way, we can get to market faster and leverage our knowledge from Europe most expeditiously to make it benefit Valley Rail. Just really quickly, in terms of some of the performance, the vehicle would be offered in 4 different variants. One is as an unpowered coach, so very similar to other projects that we see where the vehicle is towed by locomotives. And then it'd also be an EMU, a battery EMU, or a hydrogen EMU. So it exists in a variety of different configurations in order to meet different project needs. Just to close things out, as I mentioned earlier, beyond providing just rail vehicles, Alstom provides a host of other solutions, including infrastructure components, signaling, as well as operations and maintenance. And we routinely participate in alternative procurements that marry a number of these different components together along with vehicles to provide turnkey solutions. And we look forward to the possibility of seeing how Alstom could potentially collaborate and work with ValleyLink to make ValleyLink a reality. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. Appreciate it. Anybody from the board have any questions, comments? Huh?
Should I?
Oh, by all means. It's already 4 o'clock, so we're good.
I will be. Just, you had a slide, don't bother going back to all your.
Yeah.
Sounds like this is primary from a logistical.
Here, turn your mic on. Can you turn your mic on for?
I do live here. You're seeing more and more projects West Coast. From a logistical standpoint, when we start putting this all together, you don't have any assembly, manufacturing, or anything on the West Coast. And I just want to understand in 2 seconds.
Sure. I mean, really succinctly, industrial footprint is a complex thing, so I won't go into all the details, but we constantly reevaluate on a project by project basis. Right now, our industrial basis is in the East, and we look to keep those facilities full. We reevaluate on a case by case basis and take a look as required.
I mean, it could change.
It depends. I mean, it really does. It's something for now, we have to keep our current facilities full and we look to balance those. But on an ongoing basis, we need to evaluate how project loads of value.
Thank you, Director McCruston.
Cost?
So too early to comment, quite frankly, Director. It's really a function. And part of what it requires is looking at things like what the terms and conditions would be as part of the contract. So it's too early for us to make a generalized broad comment on what cost would directly be.
Other projects that you've bid on, you've outcompeted other companies. Obviously, you're one of the largest. So
we're interested in competition, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director. Anyone else?
Yeah, just a quick question. Curious about what operating design pressure the hydrogen tanks operate at.
350 bar. They are 350 bar. I don't remember the exact capacity. It would have to be evaluated. Roughly speaking, what we anticipate in terms of hydrogen performance based on the capacity on board the vehicle would be roughly speaking in the order of 600 miles. But forgive the pun, your mileage may vary a little bit depending on the specific application.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Anyone else? Seeing no one, anybody from the public wish to address board on this item?
Yes, we have one member of the public wishing to make public comment, Miguel Carlos Vecino.
Do I speak here?
Yes, please. Good afternoon.
So I was mainly wondering why we were mainly considering Alstom instead of also the Stadler trains developed for Metrolink's Aero service as well, which are proven in the US market specifically already and certified for it. That's all.
That's
really.
my question. Well, let's try to find an answer. Mr. Sheridan?
So the state does have a contract with Stadler, but that doesn't mean we're not interested in hearing about other manufacturers. And it's not just Alstom or RDA, but Siemens, a number of manufacturers as hydrogen battery hybrids are becoming more of a thing or more popular in the industry. Competition is invited because what competition does for cost is for Mr. Halbert's question, whether the cost, sometimes cost change when there's more competition.
Answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for being here. Anybody else from the public wish to address the board on this item? All right, I'm gonna bring it back to the board. Seeing no one else, we'll go ahead and move on. Thank you very much, you and your teams, for being here. Appreciate it. Move on to item number 9, Executive Director Report. Sheridan.
I'll be very quick, Mr. Chair, and we have a slide we could put up just highlighting some.
You got home movies or what do you got there?
Well, it's mainly to highlight what we've been doing. So we in the meantime, while the slide's going up, I think Candace is working on it. We had a Tracy Earth project in the city of Tracy that Councilmember Nygaard helped orchestrate, and also you, Chair, were present to speak, and also Assemblywoman Ransom, and we had approximately 200 high schoolers there to hear about ValleyLink and the use of hydrogen and our efforts to try and be a sustainable green powered first green powered train system to start off operating that way. And here it is. Thank you, Candace. So on January 22nd, we had the Tracy Earth Project, and it was a great event. As you can see from the pictures there, we got a lot of great questions and a lot of it was from the STEM students, I believe, who focus on science and math, and they were very energetic, enthusiastic about ValleyLink, and it was just overall a great event, and love to do 3 or 4 of them a year anywhere we can. So just want to thank now Director Nygaard and yourself, Chair, for participating, as that picture shows, with Assemblywoman Ransom, and then Bill, always willing to talk to kids, and Mary Ann did a great job, and Will on our staff, and Candace really helped make this thing happen with Director Nygaard. I don't know if you guys want to comment on it, but it was a great event. And then next slide, please. So we have some upcoming outreach events as we continue the momentum on getting the word out. And as Mr. Kinjo was referring to, is making sure we're staying active in the communities and building putting the word out on ValleyLink. So we have the Tri-Valley Innovation Fair coming up on Saturday at Alameda County Fairgrounds on April 12th. And we have another Tracy Earth Day event on April 26th in downtown Tracy. So we're going to continue to make our presence known in the communities and educate people about ValleyLink and answer questions. Next slide. So one of the things that you heard from the building trades, and also there's a question about BART, was we did a build. It's not formally raised, but now it's called the BUILD, which stands for Better Utilizing Investments to Leverage Development Program. We did a joint application with the city of Mountain House where we are requesting $3.5 million for final design, and we were able to submit that January 30th. And hopefully we are the recipient of that award in the summer of 2025. And environmental updates, we wrapped up addressing the comments from the 30-day public comment period on January 10th. We're still coordinating with the State Historic Preservation Office for Section 106 consultation, which is a timely process. I think they have 30 days just to notify that they've received your letter, and they'll start reviewing your project. Section 7 consultation with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, that's for biological resources. And then our draft finding of no significant impact for the environmental assessment is in review at the FTA right now. And we expect to get their approval or at least comments back soon. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. I'll move on to item number 10, director's discussion. Anyone have any comments, questions, or requests for something on the agenda or anything?
For comment.
Director Tingle.
Yes, I was unable to make last month's meeting, but I do want to personally congratulate Chair Rickman and Vice Chair Marchand. I know that the two of you will, with our Executive Director, will continue to lead us forward on ValleyLink. So I was unable to make it. I was attending my former husband's funeral.
Sorry to hear that. We got our condolences. But thank you very much.
But had I been here, I would have affirmed that.
Anyone else? Just real quick.
I think we have a public comment. Is that right?
We have 2 public comments.
On On director discussion. All right, let's go ahead and do that then. Let's open up for public comment. Anybody from the,
So I also have a few more general bullet points that I would like to ask. I was hoping that ValleyLink would also be compatible with the future rail plans, which should also definitely happen in California, in my opinion, at least. Like eventually having another connection with Ace and BART, and also because Ace will have a greater service area as well, I'm not really convinced that ValleyLink is a good substitute for improving Ace as well. I also think that if ValleyLink were to happen, that they should use the Tracy Transit Center as a station to better support downtown Tracy instead of another park and ride like we see with Ace. I think also if rail were to be put on the old Southern Pacific Altamont line, that Ace should also be able to use that right of way. Also, I am curious as to why meetings are scheduled at these sort of times when it's kind of hard for the public to attend, because I have lots of other friends who feel similarly to me, but they are not really able to come and comment as well. Those are my points.
all right, thank you. And since this is not agendized, I mean, we'll accept your discussion.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Anybody else?
Hasib. Asma.
Hello, everyone. So I just wanted to mention the transfer from Pleasanton to Dublin. I strongly feel that we should be sticking to the original proposal. Transfer should be in the same station or at least be connected on the same level. Otherwise, you would have a significant decrease in ridership, and it would make things be really inconvenient. Another thing is the land use around the stations. I believe that parking spaces are excessive, and also that development around stations should be considered for a TOD, transit oriented development, where you don't want to build permanent structures and build only structures in a way that can in a way that's able to convert for development in the future. I also had a question on Tracy operations and maintenance facilities. It's not connected by rail, and it's far away, and wanted to know how it would function. And also a final question is, what is the timeline for the project to be fully completed? And yeah.
All right, thank you. We'll get somebody who can answer that question for you. We can address it here since it wasn't an agendized item.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if you want to stick around, we'll have somebody reach out to you. Anybody else from the public wish to address the board? All right, move on. We'll direct this discussion. Just real quick, this is our first meeting of 2025. So I want to say, first of all, Happy New Year. And I want to welcome all our new board members. Looking forward to working with everybody here. And to thank the city of Dublin and the mayor and council of Dublin for letting us use your place. Is beautiful, your beautiful facility. If there's no other director's discussions, we'll move on to item number 11, which is upcoming meeting details. Our next regular meeting is scheduled for 2 p.m. on April 9th at 2025 at Mountain House Chambers at 251 East Main Street in Mountain House in San Joaquin County. Before we adjourn to closed session, are we expecting anything to come out of closed session? So we'll go ahead and we can go ahead and close, adjourn this meeting and go to closed session.